Hello, this is Dr. Celeste Barnett, Assistant Principal at Dieguito Academy. We are very happy to have you with us today for another seminar in our Parent Education Series. Ann Nebelon and I, counselor at Dieguito Academy, are going to be taking you through today's presentation. So I'll turn it over to Ann.
Thank you for joining us. Today we want to share with you information about healthy relationships, also unhealthy relationships, and relationship violence. It's our practice really to think about how we can teach our teens the facts and the truth. And we put together this seminar for you in hopes that you can use it as a tool in further discussions with your teens. So by the end of this seminar, you will better understand the components of a healthy relationship, components of an unhealthy relationship, really what relationship violence and date rape and consent mean, and how to talk to your teen about relationships with a couple of tips and then some resources. We really believe that a healthy relationship is shaped by respect, equality, safety, and trust.
And Ann, I just want to say I appreciate so much that in these seminars that you have a focus on the education piece, which is super important, but I love that bullet number 4 there. That's what I, as a parent, get the most out of from these seminars is specifics about how to talk to my child or students that I'm working with here at school. That's where I need additional information. So thank you for including that.
Yes, and I don't think you're alone in that. And we want to help you as parents be able to have these conversations with your teens. So components of a healthy relationship, again, respect, equality, safety, and trust, those are paramount. When I talk to students and I ask them, what do you really want or need from your parent? And the number one thing they say is, we just want them to listen. So keep that in your mind all the time when you have these conversations to maybe just slow down and listen. Pay attention to what they're trying to tell you. But this information is also in the context of we're giving this information to our students. We want our students to know that in a healthy relationship, they listen to each other. They have fun. They laugh a lot. It should be a good thing. It should be easy. It should be fun, healthy, happy. They don't try to change each other. They accept that they're not perfect. And then as a result of that, they don't need or want to change the partner that they're in a relationship with. They know that they can be themselves. They support each other's sense of freedom, choices, their self-esteem. They maintain balance with all of their friendships and relationships. That's really important. We see really fairly often that kids will start a relationship and let all their other friendships go. They get super hyper-focused on the relationship when really that's not healthy. It's healthier to maintain the balance between friendships, relationships, also family time and personal time too. So they should also be able to express their thoughts and feelings, enjoy being together in an equal way. They're responsible for their own actions. There's no blaming. And that they can learn from mistakes because mistakes will happen. And that they communicate easily with each other. These things sound easy and maybe obvious, but I don't know how many teens actually sit down and think like, well, this is what makes a relationship really good and feel really good to them. So these are some great talking points.
And I appreciate that you started this with the relationship between an adult and a child and a family, but this is also not just about sexual or boyfriend-girlfriend relationships or boyfriend-boyfriend or girlfriend-girlfriend or whatever it might be, but friendships or any kind of relationship. These are some of the hallmarks of what make for a good, healthy relationship.
Absolutely. It really covers all of the above. So then what makes a relationship unhealthy? There's 4 different types of seriously unhealthy relationships, and that would include verbal, emotional, sexual, and physical. And that can go from mild to extreme, meaning abuse, where it's categorized as abuse. So in an unhealthy relationship, you might see extreme jealousy. All these things are red flags. Extreme jealousy, controlling behaviors, Someone that's like maybe telling you you can or can't do something, or you have to check in with them first, or I don't like you hanging with your friends, things like that. That's also possessiveness. Those top three really go together. Peer pressure. Anytime they might feel pressured to do something, whether it's go to a party where there might be drugs and alcohol, to pressure to have sex and they're not ready. It could be just pressure to join the crowd and they're not comfortable. Anything that creates an environment of feeling uncomfortable. Unhealthy relationship includes feeling trapped, unsafe, unhappy, feeling threatened. And I think uncomfortable is an important one to put in there, because something uncomfortable feels a little milder. But once you start feeling uncomfortable in a relationship of any kind, that's a red flag to pay attention. Constant put downs. Well, that's obvious that there's nothing healthy about being put down in any way for who you are or what you do. An explosive temper says a lot about that person. They may be going through something that is causing them to have a temper. If they try to isolate, isolation means, it can mean two things, like your partner's trying to isolate you from other people, or you want to be isolated from other people because you're not feeling good about yourself or the relationship. And then a person that tries to spend all their time with you, well, that's not a healthy balance. Then you don't have time for the other important things in your life. Someone that's telling you what to do, that usually doesn't feel very good either, and that falls under controlling behaviors. Emotional blackmail is that is something we, I don't know if I could say commonly see, but we do see this. And basically it's that if you break up with me, I will tell all your friends that secret you told me. Or I will share that picture you sent me. Or I'll hurt myself if you break up with me. That's emotional blackmail. And that's a pretty scary place to be. So you can see that unhealthy relationships falls into, there's a lot of things to kind of watch for, but it really comes down to, are they, like if it's for your teen, are they happy? Are they productive? Are they maintaining balance in their lives? And if that isn't happening, then it's time to pay attention. So here's a few statistics about relationship violence. And relationship violence can mean anything from, well, there's the physical, verbal, sexual, emotional types of relationship violence. And it can go from something that seems kind of mild, like maybe just a little push or the first put down, all the way to a date rape, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about, that date and acquaintance rape. So 1 in 6 women and 1 in 33 men will experience attempted or completed rape in their lifetime. That is crazy. In 8 out of 10 rape cases, the victim knows the perpetrator. That's 80%. And that's what makes it a date acquaintance rape. 66% of victims of sexual assault and rape are aged 12 through 17. That's our kids.
That's our kids.
And only 28% of the victims report their sexual assault to the police. We're going to talk about maybe why that happens. And I included this one visual from the RAIN website, and as you and pointed out the one that I really want you to take a look at, and that says that 55% of sexual assaults occur at or near the victim's home. To me, that was a really scary thought, because sometimes we think rape is some other thing that happens someplace else, when in fact the percentages show that more often than not, the victim knew the perpetrator. And then over half the time, it's happened near or at the victim's home. Okay, so relationship violence basically is any negative act in a romantic or intimate relationship that's intended to establish an unequal balance of power and control. And it's that's what an unhealthy relationship really is about. It's about power and control, often also manipulation. So relationship violence can fall into like a wide spectrum of things.
And the power or control imbalance, inequity can be things like we think about like males versus females, and that males are typically like larger physically, but it can be financial power.
Yes.
It can be popularity, that somebody has more friends, and so again, then they can emotionally blackmail a little bit more effectively, so to speak, because they have more of that type. There's so many different types of power that it's not just the physical.
Correct. Like it could be, well, I bought you dinner last night, so you owe me. As simple as that.
Okay.
So then date rape, also known as acquaintance rape, basically means that a rape or sexual assault occurs and the victim knew the attacker. They were most likely on a date, they were dating, they're acquainted in some way. And most rape victims knew that perpetrator prior to the rape, but more than half go unreported. Why? Okay, we will get to the why in a minute, but I do want to address consent, and this to me is one of the most important things that a parent can teach their own child, because if they understand what consent is, it's going to be a protective factor for them. It means that yes, I agree to this. I want to do this. I want to have sex with you, or I want to do something sexual with you, and it's a mutual consent. That is not possible. It's not possible to give consent when anybody is drunk or high, because they just aren't in the right mind to make a decision. A consent means a genuine and confident yes. Non-consent means I'm forced to agree through bribes, threats, manipulation. Maybe they might give in to the pressure, the coercion, or they're doing it out of fear. So consent is only a very adamant yes, and never possible under the influence of anything.
And you've said this to me offline, but let's talk about it a little bit. That this is important for us to talk to both possible members of a relationship. So the person who might not be giving consent, but also teaching. Typically, we're thinking about young men, but not necessarily. But what do you need to hear? What signals? Not just signals, but what verbal assent do you need to hear? So from both sides, talk a little bit about both roles.
There are two roles because there's two people in the relationship. And so it needs to be a mutual consent, but we do need to teach our teens, and it is primarily boys, but not always, that they need to wait until they get that adamant yes, that comfortable agreeing to it. Nobody should be forcing anybody to do anything. They need to know that when the other person is under the influence, if they have sex with them, that is considered rape. That is a strong message, and everybody needs to hear that, because no matter if it's the boy or the girl or whoever's in the relationship, they need to know that they have the power to say yes or no. And then they also need to know that they cannot expect anything from anybody without that genuine and confident yes from the other person.
And every time, just because there's been consent previously does not mean the next time that it's an automatic yes.
Correct. Every time it needs to be a genuine and confident yes. And if the person asking the yes or no gets a no, they need to respect that every time. So how to talk to your teen. This is kind of the, starts getting into the why maybe they don't report it.
Yeah.
Because you want to always be ready to stop talking, allow long moments of silence, and just listen. Because if they're taking the risk to tell you about something serious that has happened or is happening to them, you need to stop and listen. If you jump in too quick, they could just clam up. And they're scared. They're really afraid to tell you. So once they start talking, say things like, go ahead in a calm voice. Tell me more. I'm listening. It's okay. I'm here for you. I'm not angry. I'll help you. I'm here for you. All those, keep saying, you say those things and you just listen and let them talk it out. And then maybe respond from there. But give them a chance to really, in a caring, nurturing way, let them express what they're trying to tell you.
And that, again, putting on my parent hat, that's scary as a parent, because they're telling you something horrible that's happened to them. And you want to go in there and try to fix it and find the person and, go to the police if you're going to go to the police, and all these solution things, when right then they need to be heard.
Yeah, and recognize that right now, as they're telling you, they are safe because they're with you.
Right.
So you don't have to overreact. You can calmly, calm yourself down, because you will be freaking out. Calm yourself down and just say, hey, they're safe right now. They're here with me. They're safe. We can take our time to talk this through and figure it out.
Good.
So here's a little bit of the why I really truly believe that they're not reporting it. It's because they are afraid. And they're afraid of telling you. They could be afraid of telling you because they're afraid of your reaction. So make sure your reaction is super positive, calm, and supportive. If they went to a party and they had been drinking or using drugs, don't focus on that. At this time, you have to focus on the sexual assault, because a sexual assault is a trauma, and drinking and or using drugs usually is not.
Right.
So that can be dealt with later. They're so afraid of getting in trouble because I've talked to a lot of teens about this. You have to make it a calm, supportive environment and focus on the more urgent matter. At that point, if you don't know what to do, you're internally freaking out, you can tell them, "Ooh, okay, I'm going to help you. We will figure out the next steps together. I'm not going to do anything dramatic without you. We're going to figure it out together." Then you can get some help and support you can call your family doctor. You can absolutely call the police. You can call a hospital. Sometimes you do have to go directly to a hospital. You can call a hotline, and we have some in the resources page at the end of this. And they'll even help you if you're just kind of freaking out and can't think clearly. Ideally, reporting a serious event like this is important, but you do get to have some choice around how you want to deal with it. If you need to take your teen to the doctor or hospital, do it right away, because then they will get more evidence, and they will also support you from that end moving forward.
So something that goes through my head is if we choose to go to the hospital to make sure that we, at least can, in a timely manner, get evidence, are we committing at that point? Are we making a decision at that point that we are going to press charges? I mean, are once you go down that road, is there any turning back if you think it through and decide later that that's not what you want to do?
No, you always have the choice of pressing charges or not. Going to a hospital and getting the evidence collected through a rape kit, also just through hospital documentation, is something that the hospital keeps. That's part of your health record. You can do what you want with it from there on. So the thing to remember is you don't have to keep making one decision after the other immediately. You can take time and ask more people, get more support, whatever it is you need. But going to if there's been a rape, you want to get to the hospital and get that whole exam done and collect that evidence, because you never know. I also know some families who have done that and came back later and pressed like months later, and pressed charges because they saw that their teen was not getting better. They were struggling with this, and plus then sometimes then the teen feels more ready to move forward.
Okay.
So there isn't, it's not an emergency. It's something that can.
So that allows you to at least keep your options open.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because you just have a window of opportunity to get the evidence and to document it, like you said. It's important if you get to a he said, she said, or whatever type of situation later, that you have, someone to back you up, either at the hospital or at the police station, who says, they came forward immediately and this is what happened, and it's not just one person's word against another. Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so here's some prevention talking points, because this really is all about prevention.
Yes.
Teach your teens to trust their gut and say no assertively. They don't want to be afraid of how that other person may react, because really it's about their safety, their health, their well-being. So if they don't want to do something, say no assertively. Talk with them about how drinking lowers their power to control their own body and make clear decisions. That's obvious, but sometimes teens aren't thinking about what could happen. So being aware of what could happen. And that goes along with if they are going to have a drink at a party, and it could be a soft drink, it can be water, it doesn't have to be alcohol, that they need to stay in control of their drink, like never leave it, because there's that chance of date rape, drugs, drugs being put into the drink. And if they are in control of their drink, those chances will go way down. So they should be taught to stick together with friends before, during, and after a party. They don't want to be isolated. The group of friends should make sure none of them ever get isolated by another person. Stick together. Watch out for each other for their safety. Let them know they can come to you even if they had been drinking or doing drugs. And tell them you will not overreact. You will talk it through with them. That will go miles in your communication, building communication with them.
Yeah, something I learned at another workshop that I'd been to related to this was to have a code word, that a code word can be helpful. So my daughter and I have a code word that when she calls me or texts me and uses that word, and I heard somebody else uses migraine. Say I have a migraine. Something that if someone else heard you say it, it wouldn't tip them off about what you're really saying to your parent or whoever it may be. But when my daughter, if she ever had to use that word, I know, no questions asked. I'm going to come pick her up. We're talking about whatever she's dealing with at the time, and not what poor decisions that she made.
Exactly.
Right? It's not about, were you drinking? Did you put yourself in a vulnerable position? What were you wearing? It's none of that. It's she's saying, I need your help right now. Come get me, or whatever it might be. So a code word is helpful, right?
Yes, a code word is a great idea, because that means you put something into place. You put a plan into place, and you have agreed to not overreact, to not challenge them on what they were doing and why were they there and why did they have to use a code word. Because ultimately, as parents, we all want our kids to be safe. So it's all about safety.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. So I love the code word thing. Then teach them also to see and treat all people as respectable, intelligent people. That's that part where if they all approach their relationships that way, then, and are taught to respect each other, then maybe these date rapes, these acquaintance rapes won't happen as often.
That starts from when they're little.
Oh my!
I mean, that's just about your parenting approach,
all the time,
right?
All the time. And then in relationships, it becomes a little bit more serious, I think, to highlight that.
Right.
You want to teach them to hear that no means no. So if they're told no, they need to stop whatever they're doing right there. And if that other person is under the influence and you have sex with them, that's rape. Tell your kids that, because they don't know that.
Right.
If the other person cannot give us consent, it's a no. That's just a blanket no.
So it's not just blackout drunk. You're saying if they're under the influence. Okay.
Then their decision-making abilities have been compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So then support teens who have been abused. Mm-hmm. So you know, maybe your son or daughter has a friend and they share, this is what's been going on. Give them a lot of support. Believe them. Mm-hmm. And then stand up against the abusers as far as you feel comfortable and that you feel like you and your son or daughter can handle. Mm-hmm. I mentioned stay in groups.
Yeah.
I mentioned it again because I think that is a great protective factor. Also, encourage them to bring money, bring a cell phone, and teach them that they can call 911. Do not be afraid mm-hmm. of the police or the sheriffs, because if anybody under 18 calls the police and they say, I'm 16 years old, I'm at this party, I'm super afraid, mm-hmm. something happened, they are at the top of the list. They will come and help. And I've personally asked sheriffs and police officers, everyone says the same thing. Absolutely, we're on it, because they're children.
Yeah.
So teach your kids that they can call 911 and to get help and support. Okay. Have them make sure they tell a parent, ideally, a friend, an older sibling, somebody, tell them where they're going and when they expect to be back. Mm-hmm. Tell them to make sure they're always in control, including, that they're including their drinks, but also emphasize that alcohol can make that really difficult. It's hard to stay 100% in control if you're under the influence mm-hmm. of anything. And to stand up for yourself, surround yourself with people who respect you. Mm-hmm. Be assertive. Trust your instincts. If it doesn't feel good, if you feel uncomfortable, go with that. Believe it. But also have fun and expect your date to respect you. Have high expectations that your date will respect you. Mm-hmm. And then let your teen know they can come to you for help, not punishment, if it happens to them or someone they know.
Great.
So summing it up, we hope you now have a better understanding mm-hmm. of the components of a healthy and unhealthy relationship, really what relationship violence, date rape, what those things mean, mm-hmm. and the importance of consent. Also, how to talk to your teen about their relationships, including prevention and safety tips, mm-hmm. which I think is the key. Mm-hmm. So in this resources page, the top 2 websites I think are the 2 best websites for more information. I get a lot of my information from these 2 websites. I also like on safebay.com. That one has some helpful videos like that even explain consent a little further. There are great talking tools. There's some good talking tools on there.
Yeah, sometimes, again, as a parent, sometimes that's the hardest thing is how do you even bring up this discussion, proactively? Obviously, when something's happened, you're going to hopefully be able to talk about it. But to have a video or something that you watch, I know there's a real good video we've talked about before about consent.
Yes.
The T video.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we put that link in. But just having something that you can watch with your kid, and then mm-hmm. jumpstart the conversation from there, can be real helpful.
And you can just preface it with, "Hey, there's some stuff I need to talk to you about because I want to make sure you are safe as you go out in the world and even off to college.
Yeah,
we want them to be safe." And so I would just say, hey, we got to go through some of this stuff and I need to share this with you because I want to make sure you know where to go for help and know that you can come to me. Mm-hmm. I will help you with anything. So some of these articles mm-hmm. take some of this information a little further, a little bit more detail if you want to read a little bit more. The more info on consent mm-hmm. is a sheet of paper, just one-sided sheet of paper. Mm-hmm. You can print it out, go over that with your teen. And some of the articles I think can be extra helpful. So feel free to explore a little bit more and know that we are here to support your teens and help them be safe.
And we'll I know you can't necessarily click on the links here from the video, but we'll put all of these links below the YouTube video and then also on our parent education website, on the SDA website so that people can hyperlink. And we update those all the time. So even, a year or so after we do this webinar or seminar, we will continue to update the resources that are there.
Yes.
And so, Anne, my last question for you is always what it is after we do one of these is if there's one thing that people walk away with, what is the one message you would want people to hear after listening to this?
Don't be afraid to talk to your teen. Every teenager I ever talked to about this or about what they want or need from their parents is they just want you to listen. They do want you to be their people for the most part. They want you to be the one they can go to. So you got to make it really safe and easy for them to come forward and talk about anything. And remember, if you get shocked by something they might tell you, remain calm and let them know you're going to figure out what you need to do to help them.
We'll get more information together. We'll get help together. Yes. And I know you had told me when we even started talking about putting this together that the reason you felt like it was so important was that you'd sort of done some kind of informal surveying with kids. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I meet with different groups of kids throughout the week, and I just took a week, and anytime I met with a group of kids, small, large, I asked them how many, first I asked them if they even knew what date rape was, and a lot of them didn't.
They know the term, but they don't really know what it means.
Correct.
Right?
So I explained it a little bit, then I asked how many of you or someone you know that you're very close to, so not just a friend of a friend or I heard that this happened to somebody, but someone personally that you know that you're close to, so you or someone that you're close to has ever dealt with date rape. Every hand went up every time.
Wow.
And I was shocked, but not. But it made me feel like, okay, we need to do a little bit more. And so here's a piece of what we're doing a little bit more and trying to help you guys out as parents to have these conversations with your kids.
And what kind of things are happening at school to help support students at the school?
We do a Healthy Relationships Day every year. And so most of our kids get this information. All of our presentations get posted on the counseling website. So you can go back in there and take a look and find old presentations and new information. So we share this information and this level of education with our parents, our families, our students, and our staff.
And it's a tough topic, but I don't say the worst thing you can do, but what we need to do is talk about it.
Got to talk about it.
Even if it's uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but this is reality, and this is their lives. This is what we have to prepare them for. This is what we have to do to help them be safe. We have to have real conversations with real information and not be afraid to say the words.
Right.
This seminar gives you the words right here, so you don't even have to worry about what to say or what to do. It's right there.
Right. I look forward to looking into these resources more.
Yes.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.